I thought I would do something a little bit different with the show today. There's so much hate, there's so much anger, there's so much frustration, hostility in the world, people going back and forth, bickering with each other, fighting with each other, arguing with each other, especially online. More so online, I think, than in person, but it's happening out in the world. But I want to talk to you today about why this is happening, why I feel that there's this draw almost to the online fighting, the flaming each other with comments, the just going after each other. It's not normal human behavior in society when we're sitting down talking with each other one-on-one. Yes, people get in arguments. Yes, people disagree with each other, but not to the level that it happens online. But so I thought this will be a great opportunity to share with you why it's happening. I've shared with you the foundation for this in the past, but maybe you didn't really recognize, or maybe you're not recognizing it in real life. And I feel like this is a great opportunity to take what I've shared with you in the past and show you how it's coming to play in real life and how it is affecting your life right now. And you may not even recognize, you may not even realize it. So to backtrack, to give you what that foundation was, it was the 6 basic human needs. This is something I've shared a couple of times on the podcast here. It's this idea, this concept that I learned from Tony Robbins. Now, as human beings, we have the basic needs of food, water, and shelter. We have to have those. Those are your survival needs. But once you get past that, Tony Robbins has this idea that he calls the 6 basic human needs. And these are the things that are driving all of the decisions really that we're making in the course of our lives. And what those 6 basic human needs are is the need for certainty, the need for uncertainty or variety, significance, love and connection, growth, and contribution. Those are the 6 basic human needs. So certainty, let's start with certainty. And I'm going to share with you how certainty plays out in this political conversation and how you meet these others. Actually, wait a minute, before I jump into certainty, in case you've not been aware of the ones in the past, or listen to those previous episodes, definitely go back if you get a chance and listen to those, because I go much deeper into these than I plan to today. But the idea behind these 6 basic human needs was we're always looking for these on some level in our lives, but the ones that happen to meet at least 3 of these 6 basic human needs, any activity that meets at least 3 of these 6 basic human needs, are the activities that we find addictive, that we find ourselves doing, whether they give us a positive result or whether they're a negative result. It doesn't really matter. They feel very addictive because they're hitting on these needs that we have, and they're hitting them enough that we feel like we have to do them, or that it's really hard not to do them because they just really touch us on a deep level. So let's start with the very first one I shared, which was certainty. With this political fighting that we see online, I'll give you a real life example, because myself, I've been drawn into this political mess here of late, especially around Charlie Kirk. Now, before I dive too deep into this, listen to my podcast. I'm going to share with you my opinion, my feelings. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I have my very specific feelings around Charlie Kirk. I watched the guy for a couple of years now. I got to see him share his personality, his beliefs, his feelings, his thoughts, and I have a very specific vision of who that guy was. Now, when I saw a lot of people going online and saying he was this, he was that, all these negative things about Charlie Kirk that I had never seen, and after watching this guy for multiple years, I had to say something. Was first and foremost because he got killed. So I just said something and how deeply saddened I was and upset by that. But then seeing how much anger and hatred, or actually just never mind, the joy that some people were having around his death, I had to go in there and say something. But when I put that opinion out there, I was very certain about my opinion. I felt very strongly about my opinion about Charlie Kirk. This was something in my body that I felt very good about. I am 1000% certain in my experience, in what I saw, who this guy was. So that allowed me to hit one of those very specific needs. So if you are having a conversation with somebody around politics, you are going to be feeling very certain about your belief system. Now, whether you lean Republican, whether you lean Democrat, liberal, conservative, independent, it doesn't matter. You feel very certain about your beliefs. You've got very strong beliefs. That's why you align with specific parties. So anytime you're having that political conversation, You're going to be touching on certainty because you have certainty built into your belief system. Uncertainty, that's the second of the 6 basic human needs that we talk about. And when I went online, I posted my feelings, I shared my thoughts. I wasn't exactly sure how that was going to be received. I had a feeling. I knew that some people were going to really connect with it. Some people were not going to connect with it. And we'll get a little bit deeper into that because that hits on some of this as well. But there was a lot of uncertainty exactly how this was going to go down. I didn't know if it was going to piss people off, if it was just going to mildly rile people up, if it was going to get people who completely unfriended me. There was a lot of uncertainty around what I was going to post on there and how it was going to happen. Same's going to happen with you if you're getting into a conversation with somebody about politics or anything else in your life. But we're going to stick with politics today. But if you're getting into a conversation with somebody about politics, you don't necessarily know what their feelings are. You don't know if they're going to agree with you or not. If it's not somebody that you've had conversations with before, you're not going to know what their feelings are. And so there's that little bit of trepidation, that little bit of nerves, that fear around, oh my gosh, maybe I shouldn't say this, because politics can be so extremely polarizing. It can be one of those conversations that just sends people over the edge, as we are seeing play out in real time in massive, massive levels. It's just crazy what's going on. So here we are. We're in this political conversation. We've already tapped on certainty. We feel very certain about our beliefs. We feel uncertain about how certain people are going to respond to it, or anything like that. Let's talk about the next one, love and connection. We all feel like we need to have love and connection in our life. That's part of our basic human needs. I don't think anybody's ever going to question that connection is something that we all crave. Even if you're a loner, you like to stay at home, there is on some level connection that you desire. Now, when I posted my post on Facebook, I think I ended up doing one on Instagram too. But anyway, when I post my post out there, instantly I was getting a lot of people to saying, yes, James, preach it. Yes, man, 100,000%. Fuck yeah, I'm right there with you. There was absolutely a connection with a certain segment of the population. They felt exactly the way that I did. They felt that I really hit the nail on the head with what I said. And there was this immediate sense of connection. Now, there were other people that were not connected to me, and that's okay. It is what it is. But I got that sense of connection. So I hit certainty, uncertainty, and connection. It's love/connection. I hit 3 of those. So no wonder it feels really, really good. And you have the same thing. If you consider yourself a liberal, you've got that connection with anybody that else considers a liberal. If you are a conservative, you've got that connection with everybody that, aligns himself with that conservative mentality. You're hitting on 3 of these things, bang, 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 right there, just like that. But let's go ahead, and I want to jump into the 4th, because this is where it really comes into, especially online as well. Maybe not even just especially online, but significance. That is the 4th basic human need that we talked about. So when you're in these political conversations, when you're going back and forth, toe to toe, you're fighting with somebody over your belief versus their belief. This is where that animosity, that anger, that, I don't want to use the word hatred, but that's where you just really are butting heads with somebody. There's a level of significance here. You are listen to me, buddy. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm going to get up on my soapbox. I am going to tell you my belief. And if you got somebody coming back at you, you are pushing back at them. There's this battle that's going on. And especially if you get into a situation where you feel very strongly that you have proof that your belief is correct and the other person's is not. There was nothing sweeter, and I'm a little ashamed to admit this, but there's nothing sweeter than when I had somebody who was calling into question something that was said, saying, oh, well, there's no proof of that. Within 5 fucking seconds, I was able to go onto Google, search up what I knew was contradictory to what this person was saying, and show you, like, oh, does this help? Does this show you what the fuck we're talking about? Now, should I feel good about that? Probably not necessarily, but there was an amazing, incredible amount of significance in me being able to go and tell this person, shut the fuck up, man. You're trying to tell me this didn't happen, but here is the proof. Here is exactly what I'm saying went down, and what you're saying didn't go down. So there's significance in there. So not only have we hit on 3 of the basic human needs. You've hit on 4 of the basic human needs. Now, those are the 4 needs of the body of the person. They're not the ones that are going to evolve us. They're going to help us become the best human being that we can be. And I am going to go ahead and talk about the other 2 basic human needs because they could potentially play into this conversation, depending on how you approach these political conversations. It's probably not going to happen in these battles, in these fights where people are going back and forth and really hammering at each other. But I did see it just yesterday, and I'll give you an example for this one. So growth is the 5th basic human needs that we talk about. And if you are more open to having a conversation and hearing somebody else's opinions, then you may be able to grow, or you can actually help somebody else grow. So hopefully, ideally, with me going back, because I didn't do it in a rude way. I didn't actually say, fuck you, dude. I just said, hey, does this help? When I shared that article about showing what this gentleman had tried to say hadn't happened. Hopefully they took that, they looked at it and they thought, well, wait a minute. Okay, well, maybe this is happening over here. And maybe they grew a little bit. And maybe if the roles had been reversed and they were able to show me some information, like, I'll be honest with you, like just today, we've got the whole argument going on about Tylenol and acetaminophen and Trump coming out with RFK. And, they're talking about not using acetaminophen because they think it might be tied to autism. I'm not a scientist. I don't know. They're saying this, and a lot of people are freaking the fuck out about it and saying, oh, whatever. Okay. That's your opinion. That's fine. But as I'm watching the press conference where they did it, I saw a clip where he said, don't take it. Just don't take it. Don't take Tylenol. He said it like literally like 50 times, it seemed like, during this press conference, which wasn't really all that long. And so I can see where some people are saying he's a clown in that little bit. I mean, okay, he does not present himself well, so they don't need to be calling him a clown, but I can at least see their perspectives. There was a little bit more growth on my side of allowing myself to be open to the possibility of, okay, the guy really doesn't present himself the best way that he possibly could. He may have some ideas that I strongly believe in, that I strongly support, but he doesn't come out here and share them as eloquently as he possibly could. And so there's a level potentially of growth if you're willing to be open to that during a conversation. And let's go ahead and hit on number 6, contribution. Sixth human need is contribution. If you truly put this out there with the intent of trying to educate people and help people understand and for them to grow, you are contributing to society. So again, this is probably not happening during these flame wars, these people where they're fighting each other and just screaming and just putting their stuff out there. But if it starts that way and they're willing to really just take it to a level where I did, with try to be calm and cool and collected on a certain level and share information with somebody, you are contributing to society. You are hopefully helping people to grow, to become better. So you can actually hit on all 6 of your basic human needs by going on here and putting this, or by doing these online arguments, even though they don't necessarily feel good. You're hitting on all 6 of them. And that's why they feel so addicting. That's why we find ourselves diving into these, even if they drain your fucking soul, which is what's happened to me. I've had to step out and realize, you know what, I'm going to take this off of social media because it's not a great platform to have these conversations. I'm going to bring it to my podcast where I can share the full extent of my thoughts, my feelings. And if somebody wants to misquote me, cool, whatever it is, because I'll have this whole conversation to share with somebody. Say, no, go back and listen to the full conversation, where I've had time to explain fully my ideas, my beliefs. And if you want to have a dialogue with me privately, where we're not having 50 different people coming in on the conversation, we can do that. Online conversations don't allow that separation. You've got 15 people jumping into conversations, giving their thoughts and riling people up, and it's just not the best way to do it. So recognize in your life how these 6 basic human needs are affecting you, specifically in these political conversations. But now you can see it in this example. Look forward in other areas of your life. Where else in your life are you hitting on these 6 basic human needs? Because they are driving your life. They are controlling your life. And they can control your life in a positive, growthful, wonderful direction, or they can control your life in a negative direction that's a further away from the goals that you're trying to achieve. But becoming aware of them and seeing how it's playing out in your life in real time is going to make a massive difference for you. It's going to really help you get to what you want to get to in life. So take them, look at them. Let me know what you think. I would love to have a conversation with you about these 6 basic human needs, or if you want to talk about politics too. I think, this is the thing I loved about Charlie. I didn't always agree with everything he said. And I think as a matter of fact, I know if you go online, you look, anybody who has truly taken the time to look at him, listen to what he had to say, he had some beliefs that not everybody agreed with, but everybody respected the fact that he would sit down, have conversations with you, and be respectful of you, be respectful of your opinions, even though he felt very strongly, very firmly, and would fight for his beliefs, but he would do it in a respectful manner. And I think we need more of that in our lives. That's something that he preached so much. He preached so much about when conversations end, that's when bad things happen. And it's exactly what happened to him. Somebody didn't want to have a conversation with him. They just wanted to kill him because they got tired of him being able to prove his point or stand firm in his belief, and it disagreed with what this other person believed. But we need to have more conversations. So if you want to have a conversation about the 6 basic human needs, awesome. Let's have a conversation. I don't think that's a bad one. But if you want to have conversations about politics and different ideologies and different belief systems and different things of that nature, I'm always open to that. Let's have conversations. Let's talk, because maybe you're going to enlighten me. My daughter and I, this is, if nothing else came out of this, my daughter and I are having so much more amazing conversations. It's brought forth this different perspective because she considers herself a liberal. I consider myself more of a conservative. We both don't lean 100% either direction. We both cross over a little bit, and we've been able to have open conversations about, well, what have you seen about Charlie Kirk, or what have you seen about Charlie Kirk, or what do you feel about this, or what do you feel about that? And that's been an amazing thing that's come out of this. So let's have more conversations. But until then, my friend, get out there, have an amazing fucking day, and I'll see you next time.